Hello, welcome to another Wine with Tweedy video on this wonderfully damp October evening. Still, I don't know, 45 minutes or so before sunset. It's feeling wonderfully dingy out here already. So I've put up a tarp to keep me dry. Got a couple of candles for Atmos. Have a frog keeping me company. Very lethargic, unconcerned frog. Shall we go take a look at the frog? Hello, frog. How you doing? Any comments at all? Probably time to harvest some raspberries as well. I'm gonna have to plonk you over there to do that. Alright. Quite wet doing that. There we go. There's some raspberries. Okay, well, I'm continuing in the sort of pink theme. It's a terrible segue from the raspberries I have just harvested. Given the cold, wet weather, I thought I'd have some nice chilled English sparkling. That makes no sense at all, does it? And this is Digby's Leander Pink. I think, if I recall correctly, this is a non-vintage, and I forget whereabouts in England this comes from. Oh, the grapes are all over the place. Kent, Sussex and Hampshire. So southern England. It's named after Kenelm Digby. And this is part of an interesting bit of early history of the traditional method, the process of doing secondary fermentation in the bottle, that most people almost uniquely associate with champagne, but is also the method used to produce English sparkling wine. And there are actually a few very early developments in the science, I suppose, of creating that process. And actually some of those developments come from England, which is twisting the tail of that development. One of the early pioneers was Kenelm Digby. I think he actually coincided with Christopher Merritt, who's one of the other sort of big innovators in those early years of traditional method sparkling wine. And these techniques were probably applied more to cider rather than to wine here in England, although there may have been a bit of both. But this idea of adding some extra yeast and sugar into the bottle with the already fermented wine, or in this case cider, so that you then trap a secondary fermentation inside the bottle, and then the carbon dioxide doesn't just evaporate off as it usually would, but instead you get these lovely bubbles in the wine. Now, I believe Kenelm Digby, one of his major contributions was in figuring out how to make the reinforced bottles that were required to withstand the 6 atmospheres of pressure that you end up with, at least in modern versions of traditional method, English sparkling or champagne. You get this very high pressure in the bottle, and weaker glass was prone to just exploding. Most English sparkling wine producers tend to adopt most of the nomenclature, that's a French word as well I suppose, from the Champagne region, so that, you know, you hear phrases like classic cuvées and rosé if it's a pink wine. Digby have decided, no, we're just gonna call it pink and have done with it. They already say it's a non-vintage. Well, the colours here are probably all a bit distorted because the lighting's weird. I'm under this greenish tarp. That is and maybe my eyes are going funny, so I have some candlelight. There's all sorts of factors probably affecting. I need a white. I need some white to compare here. So that's my the cuff of my shirt. Does that help? I don't know. But I would say that is pink veering towards sort of an orangey blush colour. Straight away getting some kind of autolytic whiff on the nose. Something sort of yeasty. Now a little bit of sort of stone fruit character, but a little bit subdued actually. A bit of that sort of struck match, reductive wine making style. Let's hope that burns off, because I'm not a fan of that. Lovely on the palate, really nice sort of mouth filling. I'm not getting much fruit on the nose. Bit autolytic, bit reductive. It's a bit of a shame, but the balance is quite good. Dry but not excessively acidic. It's not too sweet. Got a nice subtle sort of possibly minerality to it. Nice fine bubbles, nice mouthfeel. Nice on the palate, something a bit missing on the nose. I've been back inside for a bit cooking. It is now properly gloomy, I imagine. I hope you can still see me okay. I don't know if the candles here are actually achieving very much. maybe, maybe not. But, I thought I would give this another go. I don't know if you've heard me whinge about reductive winemaking before, and I may well be slightly misusing some of the terminology, but it's it's a nuanced thing, and it's a bit difficult to describe. Like, as anything that manifests as an aroma, it's a very difficult thing to convey, but there is on the nose this almost slightly chemically, I've heard this described as struck matches. I have a box of matches here. I don't know if this is a useful comparison. If I strike a match, and then let that go out, try not to burn my nostrils, that sort of smell. And this is apparently something that happens when you starve the grapes of oxygen during fermentation, or try and reduce the impact of oxygen on the grapes by presumably sort of enclosing them or encasing them in something while they're fermenting. So yeah, on the nose, I'm going to give this a thumbs down, to be honest. I like the palate. I mean, once on the palate, then that somehow that sort of struck match thing seems to go away, and I do get a sense of fruit, and a nice balance, nice acidity. You know, everything else is working quite well. Anyway, the wine may be a bit of a disappointment, at least nasally, olfactorily, in terms of the smell, but the setting is delightful. I'm having a wonderfully romantic evening for one, here under a tarp in the rain with my soggy wet dog smell tweed. So cheers.